It's not exactly a hot take to say Mario sports games aren't what they used to be. Whether it's a lack of content, a lack of soul, or both, especially on the Nintendo Switch, basically all the titles haven't really delivered. And while saying that this is because the new games have barely any original characters is probably a couple bridges too far, they are a symptom of the problem. After all, unique new characters instantly give these games an identity, something to recognize and remember them for, but over time this aspect has basically completely vanished. And it is especially crazy when you remember that when Mario first entered the sports domain properly on Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color with Mario Golf and Tennis, having original, never before seen characters was a tremendously big part of the game's appeal and identity. And while the Mario series wasn't yet at the point where a super big deal was made over these characters, in retrospect, their original cast is easily the most memorable thing about them. In Mario Golf, it appears the philosophy was to create characters that could serve as stand-ins for the player behind the controller, although that does lead to one of the strangest starting rosters a Mario game has ever had. It consists of Peach, okay fair, Baby Mario, which is a very left field pick, as well as the new characters Plum and Charlie. Not Mario, not Luigi, Plum and Charlie. Among the unlockable roster are 3 more original characters that are also just straight up humans. The middle-aged Harry and Sonny, and the energetic teen Maple. Barely anything is known about these characters, and it seems that was very much deliberate. There is evidence to suggest that at one point in time, Maple was meant to be related to Princess Peach, similar to how Mario Tennis ended up introducing Waluigi, but Camelot scrapped this before release, leaving these new characters with barely any context except for their stats. And I mean that literally. Plum is pretty much entirely defined by how her golfing skills are perfect for beginners. Charlie at least has specified he only started golfing because he wanted to be cool, that's something. But while these characters were severely lacking in, well, characterization, there was ample reason to build upon them in the future. And that's the weird thing, that didn't happen at all. In the same year that Mario Golf released for N64, a game with the same title was released on Game Boy Color, and this one also featured an even larger set of human characters alongside the main Mario cast, and none of them, not a single one, had previously appeared on the N64. This time around, we start with a quartet of Kid, Sherry, Joe, and Azalea. The one that immediately jumps out here is Azalea. She was meant to be related to Princess Daisy, just like Maple was with Peach, but even though that didn't end up happening, Azalea strongly resembles Daisy as she would appear in the future following a redesign. This could be a coincidence, seeing as Daisy's new design debuted in Mario Party 4, which Camelot had nothing to do with, although Mario Golf Toadstool Tour followed shortly after. Then again, I don't know if Nintendo would allow Camelot to redesign a core member of the Mario cast, but then again, maybe they had some credit following Waluigi. Anyway, the characters in this game do have a bit more of a personality, due to GBC Mario Golf having a bit more RPG elements. For example, Kid started playing golf when he was only 3 years old and was a true child prodigy. Joe is in college and used to be a professional disco dancer, whatever that means. Using the N64 transfer pack, these 4 characters can also be added to N64 Mario Golf, meaning they essentially had 2 playable appearances right from the get-go, which is more than the N64 originals ever got. Not to mention that all of GBC Mario Golf's human characters also returned for the sequel on GBA, Advanced Store, complete with redesigns. And that includes also the 4 unlockable human characters, Putz, Grace, Tiny, and Genius. Yes, Genius. He calls himself the Gene, we're past the point of self-inserts here. That these characters are getting wilder is also obvious when looking at Grace and Tiny. Tiny is a little humorous at least, as this is obviously a big dude who grew up in the wilderness of Hawaii. Don't ask me where Hawaii is compared to the Mushroom Kingdom though. Same thing with Grace, who is actually from Germany and considered the queen of women's golf. This large group was joined in Advanced Store by only 4 new human characters, which are the player characters, Neil and Ella, of which the unchosen one will become the player's partner, as well as Helen and Buzz, who are the player's rivals in the story mode and are not playable. What is fun to mention though is that in this story mode, these 4 new kids on the block are trained by the old kid on the block, as in it's Kid from the original Mario Golf, now older and more experienced, ready to share his wisdom. Yeah, there aren't too many Mario games with an actual working timeline, but Mario Golf and Advance Tour is one of them. In Camelot's other big sports series, Mario Tennis, the focus has always been less on original characters, to the point that Mario Tennis for N64 only has one, and that is Waluigi, who you guys obviously all know. Mario Tennis for Game Boy Color made up for lost time though, being again more RPG focused, with some of these characters also then added to the N64 via the same transfer pack as with Golf. These names are Alex, Harry, Kate and Nina, and while Golf added the default starting roster to the N64, Tennis does not. Instead, these four are basically all characters you meet during the story mode. Alex and Nina are the playable characters of the story, while Harry and Kate are their double partners. In GBC Mario Tennis, they are all unlockable though, with the starting roster instead consisting of the human characters Anlie, Joy and Brian. These three were never seen again. In fact, there isn't even official artwork for them, making them easily some of the most forgotten playable Mario characters of all time. In total though, Mario Tennis for Game Boy Color has 20 playable human characters available, all of which are completely original. Pam, Spike, Eldon, Bob, Beth, Faye, Kurt, Sammy and Sean are never seen again, but for Akos, Bkos, Emily and Mark there is a future after the Game Boy Color. They, alongside the Transfer Pack Quartet, would return in Mario Tennis Power Tour, basically Mario Tennis equivalent of Advance Tour for GBA. This game is essentially a sequel to the original, with Alex and Nina now coaches at the Tennis Academy, while a new generation of players makes their mark. And this new generation is another very sizable one. As in, this game has 38 playable characters and only 6 of them are Mario characters. The rest are brand new original human characters. 31 new playable characters, and that isn't even counting the non-playable ones. Most of them follow in line with what the GBC did. They're very bare bones, most have never even received official artwork, and very little is known about them beyond their names, most of which are completely normal human names like Sean, Linda, Gary, Paula and Dweezil and his partner Minx. Super common names, of course. Among this list are also the playable characters, officially known as Clay and Ace, Willy, who is the younger brother of Akos and Bkos from the first game, and Mel, who may or not be a tiny bit inspired by Chun-Li. Nintendo doing copyright infringement, who thought we'd ever see the day? While the GBA was busy with these RPG-heavy Mario Golf and Tennis titles, on the GameCube the focus was more on the party aspect of these series, and that meant a big focus on the Mario cast and 0 random humans to pad out the roster. Toadstool Tour and Mario Power Tennis do not feature any new playable characters, although Neil and Ella, the player characters, can be transferred from Advance Tour to Toadstool Tour, marking the end of original characters like this. But as other spin-offs like Mario Party and Mario Kart had shown, this didn't have to be the end for anything original and alive. Mario Party had plenty of original hosts during the GameCube and GBA days, and Mario Kart often included all kinds of creatures on courses that had never been seen in Mario games before. But neither Toadstool Tour nor Power Tennis feature anything like that in the final game. Because during the development of Power Tennis, new characters were planned to appear. Fumihide Aoki, the game's graphic designer, was at work on new characters during development, even if none ended up coming to fruition. Potato was a young girl in a green dress who was described as a rich country girl, who would be laid back and clumsy at the same time. But while Aoki did work on her design, he never even proposed it. Wall Peach came much closer though. She is probably one of the most famous cut characters in Mario history and was supposed to be Peach's answer to Wario and Waluigi. She was originally considered for Mario Tennis on N64, where she would have taken Waluigi's role, but eventually ended up unused. Was now the time to bring her back? Well, even though it never ended up happening, they seemingly got far enough to make a model for her, and design documents state that she was intended to become Wario and Waluigi's boss, essentially taking on the role Bowser has in the game's intro. She eventually didn't make the cut because she lacked a partner. Somewhere else on the GameCube, new Mario Sports series were created out of thin air. The Mario Baseball series would end up quite short-lived, and despite having a massive roster that I suppose did make characters like Tiny Kong, King K. Rool and Baby Donkey Kong proper Mario names, 0 new faces were introduced in either Superstar Baseball or Sluggers. Mario Strikers was not so unfortunate. The Super Team consists of identical robots that are created by Bowser? They're at least loyal to him. I don't know, Bowser never really struck me as the guy to invent perfectly footballing robots. Not only are these robots the first Mario Sports original characters to not be humans, they're also simply way more memorable, partly due to their design, but mostly due to the way they're presented. This team is overpowered as hell. Every single one of the supers is essentially the team captain, meaning they can all hit super strikes while usually only the captain can. And that is cool as a final boss for sure, which is definitely their main purpose, but I can imagine these guys cause quite some fights in homes worldwide, as they are also playable, meaning that whoever picks them has an instant advantage. They do live up to their title of Robotic Nightmare, I'll give them that. Unfortunately, by the time Strikers Charged, the sequel for Wii, rolled around, the super team were ditched again, with only one member having a cameo mopping the floor during the credits. They were not replaced by any other new character. Strikers Charged followed what was becoming pretty normal starting with the Wii era, which was Mario Kart and Mario Kart only. Following the original Mario Strikers, it would be 13 years before another Mario Sports game would introduce a new original character of any kind. I'm talking random enemies, creatures, it doesn't even have to be something playable, just anything. It just didn't happen. Mario Hoops 3-on-3 and Mario Sports Mix include a whole bunch of Square Enix characters, which may feel new if you're not familiar with them, but they're not original of course, and Mario Sports Superstars drew a lot of attention to its horses, but those aren't actually new either. They have previously appeared in the Mario Party series. Now, we arrive at the Switch for the next truly original character, and that would be the several new names introduced in the story mode of Mario Tennis Aces. The central character of the story is Lucian, an ancient tennis racket who caused the demise of a kingdom in the past and is now found by Wario and Waluigi. Luigi takes the racket and ends up possessed by Lucian, who now starts his quest to find all 5 Power Stones scattered around to revive his ultimate power. Calling Lucian a character is maybe a bit of a stretch, as it is by all accounts a tennis racket of which you can debate whether it's actually flesh and blood, but its ability to possess others does give enough of a presence to qualify, I think. It's even the final boss in the form of Baushin, that's something straight out of the Mario RPG series. But Lucian isn't even the only new character here. Not only does the Guardian of the Fallen Kingdom, Aster, appear as a disembodied voice all throughout the story, there are also 2 more boss battles against completely brand new entities. Madame Mirage is a sentient mirror with a very strong Luigi's Mansion energy, while Snow Ogre is basically just Irok from Mario 64 with an ice tint. So while I wouldn't say the Tennis Aces OCs hit the same as the Super Team did, they're at least not as memorable, it is exactly the elements like this that do give Mario Tennis Aces a certain identity that the other Mario Sports games on Switch lacked, and even though it wasn't perfect and probably not even the best Mario Tennis game, I do respect that it tried to do something more original, especially after Ultra Smash. But unfortunately, Tennis Aces didn't exactly work contagiously for the rest of the Mario Sports games. Battle League features 0 original characters. I mean, I wouldn't even know where this game could hide them with how little content is in it. And while Super Rush does have a bit of a story mode, similar in style to the old handheld games, saying it has original characters is maybe a bridge too far. It does at least have new original bosses, even if they're nothing comparable to Lucian really. The most tantalizing is probably the first boss of the game, the legendary hero. After completing its tasks, the hero itself appears in the shape of a suit of armor. While golf is not exactly made for boss battles, it's decent. It's a cute attempt at least. That said, I don't know if the name Legendary Hero is something this guy really lives up to, even if it does stick around for the next 2 battles to provide advice. The second boss is the Sacred Flame Beast, which is a giant flame bird that is reminiscent of creatures we've seen in other Mario games like Cockatiel and Fluzzard. It is its own original creature though, so it definitely qualifies. The third and final boss of Super Rush is none other than the Snow King, who actually has a bit of a story to his presence. The king used to rule over a land of snow until Bowser appeared and melted it all, building his own golf course there. The Snow King manages to drum up his minions and tries to take his land back, but with the help of our player character, the Mario cast prevails. Bowser included. Wait, are we the bad guys here? I guess that if what the legendary hero says is true, then probably not, and the Snow King proves a much bigger threat than just taking his own land back, but it is a bit of a weird backstory for a villain in a Mario sports game, I gotta say. But at least the Snow King has a bit of a story, and I guess you could call it lore to him. Mario Tennis Fever might just have one of the flimsiest plots I've ever seen in a Mario game, and that is saying something. For the purpose of this video though, it qualifies, as it does add some new faces to the Mario world, and there are actually a few I could see sticking around, which hasn't happened since Waluigi 25 years prior. And of course, it's only right then that the new character with the most eyes on him is Baby Waluigi. Still kinda weird to me that in a story revolving all around babies, that Donkey Kong, despite having a canon baby form, misses out on the curse, while Daisy, who also has a canon baby form, is the one to sit this trip out. They could have even included Rosalina to not have to introduce a new character you would think has a pretty decent shot at more spin-off appearances in the future, but I suppose that if anyone not called Nintendo has the right to introduce a semi-important Mario cast member, it's Camelot. But Baby Waluigi isn't the only one I could actually see return. King Scuttlebug is another name in a long list of regular enemies that have larger king forms, and we have seen throughout the ages that these can sometimes pop up in the most unexpected places. Like how Goomboss, the Goomba King, originated in Paper Mario, then returned in the remake of Mario 64 DS. How random is that? I wouldn't be entirely surprised if King Scuttlebug was used in a similar fashion in the future. He's exactly the type of guy to now fade into obscurity for like 8 years and then randomly return in a Mario Party minigame. But I guess time will tell. Same with Baby Waluigi. Will he eventually be added to Mario Kart like all babies? Or what about the Mario movie, when Wario and Waluigi eventually make their appearance? Time will tell. But which of these characters would you like to see again? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. And if you really want to support me, you can now become a channel member to get all kinds of fun perks and help me keep bringing these videos to your doorstep every week. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.